Hey guys, instead of doing chapter 4 in class, we did the jigsaw assignment that we did last Tuesday on the 3rd, where you had to research one part and then you got all the other parts from your classmates that did the same research. So that is instead of me standing up here lecturing because some people don't learn as well that way, so I was trying different methods. So I am going to run through this PowerPoint on a video so you can watch it and so you're not so stressed out. But you got to remember you need to be doing the homework and reading the book. The PowerPoints are already up there so you can review them on your own time as well. So chapter 4 is about tissues. What are tissues? No, not Kleenexes. So a tissue is a group of similar cells that perform similar functions. So there can be multiple types of tissues together that make up an organ, but they are all not the same. So how many types of tissue are there? Well, all the tissues in the body can be divided into 4 general tissue types. Now there's multiple tissues, but there's 4 general types. So we have connective tissue, muscle tissue, epithelial tissue, and nerve tissue. Notice that it is no longer nervous tissue, and now the term is just nerve tissue. So epithelial tissue is closely packed cells that's attached to a connective tissue membrane. The tissue surface is opposite the basement membrane and is not attached to other tissues, has no blood vessels, that means it is avascular. And tissues regenerate rapidly. An example of our epithelial tissue is going to be our skin. So the functions vary depending on location and tissue type. The 2 major categories of epithelial tissue are covering and lining epithelium. And we also have glandular epithelium. So covering and lining epithelium are going to protect either our organs or the outer layer of our skin, diffuse, actually help with osmosis, absorption, and filtration. So maybe our kidneys with our filtration and absorption in our intestines. Glandular epithelium is to help with secretion, so it can be from 2 different types of glands, which we have exocrine. So this would be secreting substances through a duct onto a surface, or endocrine, which secrete hormones that diffuse into the bloodstream. So there's no duct. So the difference there is the exocrine is through a duct. The endocrine, there is no duct because it diffuses into the bloodstream. So covering and lining epithelium is classified by shape and layer. We have squamous, cuboidal, and columnar. So we also have layers. We have simple and stratified. And we'll get into that a little deeper, but our simple is going to be 1 layer, stratified is going to be multiple layers. There is pseudostratified and transitional. Pseudostratified just means it's a false stratified. So it looks like it has multiple layers, but it's actually only 1 layer. And then transitional looks different than all other cells. So for the shapes, we have squamous, cuboidal, and columnar. Squamous is going to be an awkward kind of shape, a little more thinner. It can be stretched more. The cuboidal is going to be the same height as it is wide, and the columnar is going to be taller than it is wide. Simple epithelium is a single layer of squamous or flat or cuboidal, so the cube-like or the column-like cells. And there are places where rapid diffusion, secretion, and filtration occur. You can see here we have the most base of an example of the tissue is the connective tissue. And then there's a basement membrane. So our simple epithelium will always have a basement membrane. This would be the actual simple layer right here. And then within the simple layer of cells, you will see the nucleus. Up here is the free surface, or also known as the apical, A-P-I-C-A-L. Stratified squamous is more than one layer of cells. It is the deepest layer, undergoes mitotic cell division, so it is rapidly reproducing. And you can see here again basement membrane with multiple layers of cells. This is the external environment. And usually at the very, very top, we still call that apical. Down here, we call these the basal layers. But this is forming some type of protection. So connective tissues are the most widely distributed and abundant body tissues. They support and bind other tissues. They are never found on exposed surfaces, so these are going to be internal. And they have the ability to regenerate. So the characteristics will be relatively few loosely arranged cells and a large amount of extracellular substance, so the matrix, which is produced by the connective tissue cells, or the fibroblast. And this is made of ground substance and protein fibers. The type of ground substance and fibers is used to classify the connective tissue. So the matrix is made up of the ground substance, which is composed of water and organic and inorganic compounds. Can be fluid-like, semi-fluid, or jelly, or it can even be calcified. The protein fibers can be collagen, reticular, or elastic. And we are going to look into that. You definitely want to read the book about the collagen, reticular, and elastic fibers. Collagen is larger fibers and rope-like. The reticular are thin but highly branched, and the elastic has elastin protein, so they can stretch and recoil. So we have loose connective tissue and dense connective tissues, and then other connective tissues with specialized functions such as cartilage, bone, blood, and lymph. Loose connective tissue, we have areolar connective tissues. The fibroblasts are various fibers. They attach to skins, muscles, and bones. They attach skin to muscles and bones. They have a supporting framework for internal organs, nerves, and blood vessels. So this is our packing material. So this is what you would put around our organs and nerves and blood systems to keep them safe and connected. We have adipose tissue, which is made up of adipocytes that store fat droplets around skin. They're found deep to skin, so below, and they are around our internal organs for insulation and protection. Our reticular tissue is reticular cells and fibers, acts as a stroma or a framework, and as a filter in some organs. So we look here at areolar tissue, which is the most abundant in the body. It possesses the fibroblasts and the macrophages. So fibroblasts would be here. You can see the elastic fibers, collagen fibers. Again, they have supporting framework for internal organs, nerves, and blood vessels. Also can be a site for immune reactions and form superficial region of the dermis, so the skin. Adipose tissue has the large number of adipocytes that store the fat droplets, so they look empty inside. The nucleus is out on the outside of the cells, but it can provide the protection and cushion and aids in attaching skin to muscle and bone. So this is definitely our fat tissue in our body. The reticular tissue consists of interlacing reticular fibers and reticular cells, but it forms the stroma, so the main structure of red bone marrow in the liver and the spleen, which are the attached frameworks, but it also acts as a biological filter in lymph nodes. So we have dense connective tissue, we have regular type and irregular type and elastic. It's no longer called dense regular connective tissue. We call it dense connective tissue regular type, or regular type. The regular type can be few cells, many tightly packed parallel collagen bundles, strong and flexible, and unidirectional stress. So these are found in our ligaments and our tendons. So they are much stronger. They have a little bit of flexibility, but not very much. So the irregular type is few cells. Many are arranged in collagen bundles. They are strong and flexible. So this is found in the dermis, in our joints, around our muscles, and our bones. Elastic has many parallel elastic fibers found in the lungs, vocal cords, air passages, and blood vessels. So dense connective tissue regular type, you can see that it has kind of a pattern. So there's a lot of strength and flexibility when applied in the same direction. So no like twisting. That's if you do have a twisting force on these connective tissues, you will end up most likely with some type of injury like an ankle sprain. The irregular type, it just looks crazy, kind of like hamburger meat, but it can stretch more. So this is where it's having the joint capsules that allow our joints to move around them, heart valves, bone, because it can endure a lot of strength and has some flexibility. The elastic connective tissue has an abundance of regularly arranged elastic cells. You can see that they are kind of like stretched out curls, but they are found in our lungs and our vocal cords, so they can stretch with the pressure and fluid and air. Cartilage is firm, gelatinous matrix with embedded chondrocytes. They usually lack blood vessels. The major functions are support, protection, and cushioning. We have hyaline, elastic, and fibrocartilage. Hyaline is most abundant and protects our joints, so these are covering the end of our joints. Elastic is the elastic fibers and in our ears. And fibrocartilage is tightly packed. They are shock absorbers in intervertebral disc and meniscus in our knee. The hyaline cartilage is the most abundant, protective. You can see the nucleus of the chondrocytes and the lacunae, and then the matrix here. So this attaches our ribs to our sternum, supports walls of our air passages, and forms most embryonic skeleton. Elastic has abundance of elastic fibers, you can see here, that provide greater elasticity and flexibility. It actually forms the auditory tubes in our ears and the epiglottis. Fibrocartilage has an abundance of tightly packed collagen fibers. They absorb great shock, just like we were talking about in the intervertebral disc, actually our pubic symphysis. So this is actually what is separating our vertebrae, but also connecting our pubic bones together, and in our meniscus in our knee. So bone is the hardest and most rigid connective tissue. It's made of calcium salts and collagen fibers in the matrix. The cells of mature bone is called osteocytes, osteo meaning bone, cytes meaning cells. Blood. So blood consists of numerous formed elements in a liquid matrix. Blood is actually the only liquid tissue that we talk about. So its vital role in transportation of materials and gases. There are 3 types of formed blood elements: red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Blood consists of numerous formed elements in liquid matrix. They play a vital role in transportation of materials and gases. You need to know the difference between red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. I'm going to stop here and then pick back up for the rest of this in a different video.